Trevor Lawrence, who's expected to be the #1 overall pick in next week's draft. But in a recent interview with Sports Illustrated, Lawrence said, quote, "It's not like I need football for my life to be okay." He added that he does not have a chip on his shoulder to prove critics wrong. This led to some people calling out his motivation. Lawrence responded, tweeting, quote, "It seems as if people are misreading my sentiment. I'm internally motivated. I love football as much or more than anyone. It is a huge priority in my life, obviously. I am driven to be the best I can be and to maximize my potential and to win. I have a lot of confidence in my work ethic. I love to grind and chase my goals. You can ask anyone who's been in my life. That being said, I am secure in who I am and what I believe. I don't need football to make me feel worthy as a person." So, Acho, do you feel worthy? I'm sorry. Do you like Trevor Lawrence responding to his critics over his dedication?
I don't like it, Sel. And it's not that I'm like, oh, Trevor Lawrence, what are you doing? But Trevor Lawrence, it's time for you to understand you are now evolving from a nice, good, star college quarterback to a #1 overall draft pick. It's a lot of star quarterbacks. And not all star quarterbacks are actually incredibly good quarterbacks, but if you play at a renowned college football program and you play at a relatively high level for a certain number of years, you're a star quarterback. But there's a difference between being a star college quarterback and a star NFL quarterback. Trevor Lawrence, you have to understand, you don't need to explain yourself once you've explained yourself, or you will constantly be explaining yourself.
I love that.
You feel me?
I did.
And that's not even Trevor Lawrence. That's relationally, that's occupationally, that's anything. Once you've explained yourself, you no longer need to keep explaining yourself, or you ain't never gonna stop explaining yourself. Trevor Lawrence came out and he said, "I love the game of football, but football does not necessarily define me. Like, I don't need it to make me happy." And we are now trying to pick that apart to the point where Trevor Lawrence is like, wait, let me clarify. Let me clarify, guys. You don't need to, because some things don't need to be said. Trevor Lawrence, we watch your game, big dog. We know your game. We know how much you love the game because you showed it every Saturday when you went out there and balled, led your team to a national title as a true freshman. We know you love a game. We know you prepare for the game. So you don't need to explain anything to us. And I think, Sel, that when you become a NFL player, particularly a quarterback who has to save and rescue a franchise, things change. In college, you got about 111, 118 teams.
Hold on, which one?
That's a random answer. It's a lot. I think it's like 118.
111 or 118.
I think it's like 118. It depends. You know, some of you got the D1s, you got your D1s, double A's, you got your Columbia.
Hold on, you said, what do you mean? We won double A.
I don't count Columbia, though. Like, y'all out there, but y'all ain't really playing football. You know, y'all just out there moving. Y'all just out there.
Student athlete.
Y'all are student athlete, okay? In Texas, we athletes, and then students, okay? Don't worry about all that.
Wow.
That's why it's 111 to 118.
Okay, shot fired.
7 are comprised of the Columbias of the world.
Don't clean up the shots, okay? Yellow tape the rope. Let's do this. We're going to war.
So the thing is, Trevor Lawrence, he could say that in college because attention's divided. People worried about USC, worried about UCLA, worried about Columbia, worried about Harvard, worried about Texas. There's only 32 teams in the NFL, big dog.
Say this.
So everything you say is going to be picked apart. Every word and sentence is going to be extrapolated so people can start to identify the meaning. Trevor Lawrence, don't worry about all that, okay? Lions, they don't mind the opinions of sheep. Trevor Lawrence, you're a lion now, big dog.
You are a lion. Went from a tiger to a lion. Look at that, Clemson. Respect. I echo a lot of what you are saying. I want to go next to it and hopefully grab the shovel and go deeper with it. With you, Acho. Trevor Lawrence, one, let me remind you who you are. You're going to be the #1 overall pick. What pick will all these critics, naysayers, haters, eggs on Twitter be? I don't know, but none of them going to be #1 overall pick. So don't stop down for these people in this moment and try to clarify who you are and what you mean. This is interesting because when he first came out with this statement, I knew he was going to have some backlash. And I hoped that he didn't come back with the clarification post to try and make all those who don't get it understand. But I trusted myself. I knew it. My impulses were right. Here we go, Trevor Lawrence. Let me tell you what's at play right here. One, the form in which you're talking through is social media. And social media has violated one of my grandmother's golden rules, which is, baby, don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing.
Sir.
You know why? Because all the left hand gonna be sitting there is talking trash about the right hand. And all the right hand's just trying to do is do what it wants to do. Do you, Trevor Lawrence? Who gives a damn what they're talking about? Because the proof is in the pudding. And boy, #1 overall pick, Good ass pudding. All right, here we go. Who Trevor Lawrence is on full display for the world to see. Who cares what he's talking about? Who cares what his thought process is? And I tell you why you shouldn't care. Because this was a moment that even Trevor Lawrence, he messed up. Even everyone who criticized him certainly messed up because their lives are probably messed up in the first place to criticize Trevor Lawrence for thinking uniquely about his life. This is the moment. In our world, there's a narrative that exists on any and every topic. And there's conventional wisdom with that same narrative, right? No matter what the topic is. And with that conventional wisdom comes imprisonment. Okay. Like you are boxed in. Basically, you better go with this narrative. Oh, I'm on the river, going where everyone else is going, right? Or you say, hold on, dog. I'm going somewhere else, or I'm thinking I want to go somewhere else. So Trevor Lawrence in this moment, #1 overall pick, is right to say, I got there a different way. Not the same, I eat and sleep football. Steak and potatoes, meat. He said, football is my #1 priority, but I got other things that define who I am. This was a moment that he missed. And all of a sudden, this is what happens. And it happens all the time when you're a person that has different thoughts. You're a person who is a unique free thinker, like myself. They try to put an electric dog collar on you. Stay in the box, say what everyone else is saying, or else. And Trevor Lawrence said what he said. I'm the #1 overall pick, and I'm gonna go a different way. And instead of being the dog that I know Trevor Lawrence is, and say, ain't nothing gonna keep me in this yard, saying what y'all say, doing what y'all do, and keep roaming like he was in free thought, he came back to where they own now, not only his freedom in thought, but also his words. So Trevor Lawrence, I know you're 21, so I'm not even condemning you. I'm just trying to help you, bro. Do what you got to do as long as your results speak for themselves.
He came back, Sal, with the dog collar, but he didn't at the same time. But you on to something, so let's go there.
He did?
Trevor Lawrence he's wrestling with this, bruh. You got to understand you can't please all people all the time.
All the time.
You either please some people all the time, all people some of the time, but you can't please all people all the time. That's not a part of the equation. And so Trevor Lawrence is looking like, wait a second. He didn't want to say what he wanted to say with his chest. The fact of the matter is we know what about Trevor Lawrence. He comes from a very religious, devout religious family, a strong Christian family based upon my research. Trevor Lawrence has said, in all honesty, football is not necessarily the most important thing in his life.
Let's go.
His faith is. However, when fans hear that, it's like, wait a second. We gonna pay you all this money? You the #1 overall pick? Football needs to be the most important thing to you. Think about it, Sal, like we praise and we glorify the Mamba mentality. But we don't really praise living like a well-rounded lifestyle. Right? Like we praise and we glorify the person who overcame, the person who faced the adversity, the person who went from Compton, went to Columbia, played for 10 years, hosting his own show. But like the person who didn't have to struggle, but still just kind of succeeded, is not as sexy a story as the story of the overcomer. So Trevor Lawrence is kind of like, nah, I don't have a big chip on my shoulder. I was the #1 recruit coming out of high school. My dad in 8th grade paid for me to have a quarterback guru coach. So then I'm in 8th grade with a quarterback coach, #1 recruit out of high school, go to the #1 program. We stay the #1 program. I leave the #1 player. I don't really got a big chip on my shoulder. I'm just a baller, haven't had that difficult of a life. At least that's not what the story says. And I'm out here doing my thing.
Killing it.
Football is a priority for me, but it's not the most important thing in my life. My faith is. Even Trevor Lawrence, though, Sal, he tried to sprinkle it in at the end. He said, I'm a firm believer in the fact that there is a plan for my life, and I'm called to be the best at whatever I am doing. Fans, pay attention, y'all. It don't matter what a player's motivation is as he has a motivation. Trevor Lawrence is saying, I'm called to be the best at what I'm doing. Who's the I'm that has called him based upon reading between the lines? I would believe it's a religious and a spiritual conviction. He's called. I'm a firm believer in the fact that there is a plan for my life. I'm called to be the best at what I'm doing. He don't need to go get